Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into the craft, maybe the reality, of writing. And we're doing that through the eyes of the acclaimed author, A.L. Kennedy.
Right. Our source is her book on writing.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's basically essays and blog posts from this intense 3-year period.
Intense is right. She finished a story collection, started another one, and wrote a whole novel. And Kennedy, well, she's got the credentials, hasn't she?
Oh, absolutely. We're talking serious authority here. 6 novels, 5 story collections, nonfiction too, published by Jonathan Cape. Tons of awards.
So definitely knows her stuff.
Yeah, and this book on writing, it's not like a textbook, it's much more conversational, it's vivid, sometimes really funny. She talks about the excitement, fury, and frustration, her words of making a book.
Sounds honest.
Very. Her goal was basically to be useful to writers, yeah. But also interesting for anyone just curious about how it all works. And she digs into the positive side, too, the role of arts in reading in life.
Okay, so our mission today, let's try and uncover some of those truths from the authorial front line, the solitary writing part, but also the public demands, the whole package. And maybe what it means for you listening, about expressing yourself or just understanding how words work.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Well, Kennedy's really upfront about the highs and lows. She calls it a mix of raging delight and potential horrible futures.
Yeah, that rings true. It's not sugar-coated.
Not at all. She apparently told creative writing students at Warwick University pretty bluntly what they might be facing.
She warned them, you might struggle. Financially, definitely. And the media demands can be weird, and it takes a physical toll.
A physical toll, how so?
Well, she described writers having this delicately nurtured sensitivity, which, maybe ironically, makes things harder. And then there's this writing demon gnawing at their spine, her phrase again.
Wow. Intense.
It is. I think the point is, if you pursue this kind of creative life, you need a specific kind of resilience. It's demanding, inside and out.
But okay, even with that stark warning, she says something else. That if someone really wants to write, it's almost impossible to stop them.
Yeah, without also killing them to some significant degree. Powerful stuff.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you get why when she mentions that raging delight, maybe it's 3 a.m.,
Right.
and that sentence finally clicks, that joy, it must be immense.
Exactly. And that, I think, connects to something bigger, doesn't it? It's like any passion project. Maybe it doesn't pay the bills, or not easily anyway. But that satisfaction, making something work, that's a huge driver.
But it does take a toll, as you said. She talks about her own health.
Oh, yeah. She's very open about it. Exhaustion, illness. She lists things like ear infections, labyrinthitis.
Labyrinthitis, what's that?
It's an inner ear thing, affects
Yeah.
your balance. Really nasty.
Okay.
And just, fevers, running herself ragged. She mentions living on Red Bull and Complan, iron tablets.
From plan, like the meal replacement.
Yeah. Just surviving, basically. She even has these sort of surreal moments, like dreaming of Blake 7 in a hotel lift that felt like the TARDIS.
Okay, that's specific.
It is. Or a doctor telling her to take off hampering underthings for an ear infection.
Wait, what?
I know. And getting sick from sleeping in what she calls a feathery plague pit on a book tour.
Good grief. It paints quite a picture.
It really does. The physical side, the mental strain, it's all there.
And through all that, she just has this mantra, onwards.
Yeah. Just keep going. Resilience again.
And talking of challenges, the flying phobia, that's a big one for an international author.
Huge. And her solution is quite something. She calls it steampunk travel.
Steampunk travel.
Basically, boats and trains to get to the U.S. and Canada for tours. No planes.
Well, that must take ages.
It does. But she found these unexpected upsides, like actually seeing the country. Vast tracts of America, she says.
Instead of just clouds.
Right. Misty Indiana sunrises, Wisconsin in autumn, the Columbia Valley cliffs, things you miss from 30,000 feet.
And it forced interactions, too.
Yeah, on Amtrak especially, she calls herself an antisocial curmudgeon, so being, stuck with strangers pushed her boundaries a bit.
So sometimes limitations can actually open things up.
Exactly. The phobia led to richer experiences, maybe even new material, new perspectives, adversity turning into something else.
So, okay, given all this, the exhaustion, the weird hotel lifts, the phobias,
Yeah.
how does she keep finding inspiration? Where does that come from?
Well, her approach is maybe a bit radical. She talks about a mental commitment to find everything inspirational.
Everything. How does that work?
It's about mindset, not necessarily changing your surroundings. She gives great examples, like her decorator. Turned out he was also a falconer.
Okay.
So she met his Harris hawk. And she describes its killer focus, and that became a metaphor for the concentration a writer needs.
Ah, I see. Finding the connection.
Exactly. Or visiting a portrait, maybe of Shakespeare, maybe not, but it gave her this sense of him as, muscle and blood, real.
So inspiration isn't just waiting for a lightning bolt.
Not for her, it seems. It's more about actively looking, being attentive, curious about whatever's around you, choosing to find it.
Okay, so you've got the spark. What about actually writing, say, a novel? Does she just jump in?
No, definitely not. She's big on planning, really emphasizes preparation.
So no, just swim off into it.
She actively argues against that, compares it to sticking our arms into wood chip.
Ouch. Okay.
Yeah. For her, a novel is a whole new world. It needs building, needs preparation. She says her own process takes years sometimes. Just fumbling about with settings, characters, plot points.
Before even drafting.
Seems so. Years of groundwork before the main writing starts. So it's about avoiding that wood chipper later, I guess. Laying the foundation.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the drafting itself, the rewriting, you mentioned it was intense.
Oh, yeah. She describes it as a real battle. Printing out drafts, attacking them with a violent red pen.
Violent.
Her word. She says stuff that looks okay on the screen can seem just awful on paper. Vile, nauseating sewers of rancid excrement.
Wow, she doesn't hold back on herself.
Not at all. The goal is taking that soggy prose and making it snappy.
Yeah.
Making the unclear communicative and suave.
Even the tricky bits.
Especially those. She mentions trying to make rude bits actually sexy, not just, silly or crude or impossible.
That takes skill.
It does. It sounds like a ruthless process. You have to be your own toughest critic to get it right.
So we've got plot, setting, the prose itself. What about characters? How does she build people who feel real?
Her core advice is pretty simple, actually. Write about what interests you, what obsesses you, what you love.
Start from passion.
Right. And then she gets practical. She says, think about how you relate to real people.
Yeah.
For her, often it's memory triggered by smell.
Interesting.
Then keep asking why. Dig deeper into their motivations. Build them one by one, not as, types.
Avoid stereotype.
Exactly. And maybe the most crucial part, know how your character feels by comparing their feelings to your own, even if, as she says, it feels intimately exposed.
So empathy is key. Real, deep empathy.
Totally. You have to be willing to draw on yourself to make them feel human.
Okay, so much of this sounds quite solitary. But what about community?
Or
workshops, for instance. She has experience there, right?
decades of it, 30 years giving workshops. But she's, conflicted is putting it mildly.
Conflicted, how so?
She finds the typical format almost completely unfit for its stated purpose.
That's damning.
It is. She thinks it can invite laziness, calcified thinking, and emotional abuse. Strong words.
She must have seen some bad ones.
Oh, she recounts this one master class.
Good.
2 suppurating days, she calls them, with a tutor she describes as a sociopath.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just awful stuff. Narcissistic rage, misogyny, self-aggrandizing gibberish and shouting.
That sounds dramatic.
It does, but she says it was incredibly useful. Taught her exactly what not to do. It reshaped her whole approach.
So what's the lesson then? Are workshops just bad?
Not necessarily. It's about how they're run, the environment, the intent. That's what she emphasizes. She gives examples of when they do work, when there's mutual respect, when people feel safe enough to surprise themselves, sing out who they are through writing.
And it helps the tutor, too.
Yeah, she says it can rekindle their own love for the craft. But you have to be careful, understand what people need, be fussy about setting it up right.
So potential for good and bad. Depends on the execution.
Pretty much. The people and the structure make all the difference.
Okay, what about the wider literary scene, beyond workshops?
She talks about literary festivals, sees them as really important.
Why is that?
Because bookshops are dwindling, media coverage isn't always great. So festivals are where intelligent and passionate readers can connect with books and writers. They fight back, she says.
Fight back against what? Commercialism? Indifference?
Maybe all of that. She loves the audiences, calls them the listeningest audiences. And it's a chance for writers to meet each other, share ideas.
Though maybe meeting your heroes can be tricky.
Yeah, she mentions the pitfalls there. Sometimes idols have feet of clay, I suppose.
True. But overall, community spaces are vital.
Definitely. A bulwark, she implies, and they thrive on engagement.
She also talks about words and performance, doesn't she? The power of hearing language.
Yes, performing her own one-person show about writing really brought that home for her. It reminded her why she started hearing and feeling language.
That physical connection.
Exactly. Words out loud and happening at me and in me.
Hmm.
She thinks actors are maybe the best readers because they don't just read words, they wear them, eat them, make them into real, live, believable people.
That's a lovely way to put it. She has that quote about kissing in words, too.
Yeah. That giving and receiving a kiss is like giving and receiving a word. Done differently, different times, but still about trying to touched, be recognized, to exist in passion, to be human.
Beautiful. And she connects this to her own writing voice.
She does. She actually trained her physical voice, worked on making it stronger, more flexible.
Like vocal coaching.
Seems like it. And she found that doing that physical work actually made her bolder on the page, more willing to take risks.
Interesting, like.
Yeah. She credits teachers who focused on full expression, physical, emotional drawing on people like Alfred Wolfson and Roy Hart. They saw the voice as embodying life itself.
So engaging physically with language enhances the writing.
That's the connection she makes. Deeper engagement leads to more powerful creation.
Moving beyond the individual writer again, Kennedy seems to feel strongly about the role of art in society.
Very strongly. She argues art communicates the humanity of others to us and our own humanity to them. Simple as that, but profound.
And she pushes back against the idea that defending art is elitist.
Absolutely. She talks about her background working in prisons, hospitals, care homes. She saw art improve lives there, giving people expression, dignity.
It's not a luxury for her.
Not at all. It's fundamental.
But then she has that baby's incubator versus a poem thought experiment, where the baby gets the money every time. Doesn't that contradict things?
It sounds like it, but her point is more subtle. She says art is part of why we try to make sure there's an incubator there for the people we don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because art fosters imagination, and imagination lets us enter imaginatively into someone else's way of seeing and being.
Which leads to empathy.
Exactly. Empathy drives action. So while the incubator is the immediate need, art helps build the societal empathy required to ensure the incubator is there in the first place.
That's a powerful argument. But she's not idealistic about language, is she? She sees the dark side, too.
Oh, definitely. She points out that terrible things like Talha's confinement were imagined first. People created fictions which make their crimes seem justified.
Using words to enable harm.
Precisely. Historical propaganda, modern political rhetoric, words used to deceive, betray, and murder. She warns that carelessness with language isn't just sloppy, it's also dangerous.
Which links back to her frustration with some media, maybe. You mentioned her mother's anxiety from a newspaper.
Yeah, that feeling of wanting to do all her hating in one go,
Right.
just to cope with the negativity. It shows the real emotional impact of poorly used words.
So imagination isn't inherently good.
No. As Kennedy says, imagination is a power. It can be used in many ways. All the more reason then to exercise it loudly and often in good ways when we can.
A call for responsible creation.
Absolutely. And amidst all this, she finds hope in readers.
Readers.
Yeah, she feels they're out there actively digging about for books that you'll genuinely love. That energy gives her hope.
That connection matters.
It seems to be central, and it leads back to her core message about writing is love.
Love.
Love of the words, love of your species, love of specific joys. Writing provides this permanent music, this free head full of words inside us, waiting.
So we've really covered a lot of ground here, looking through A.L. Kennedy's experiences and ideas, from the tough realities to the profound power of words.
Yeah, and what stays with me is her belief in connection, that ability to create. She tells this incredibly moving story about 38 Dakota Sioux men facing execution.
Wow.
And they sustained each other just by shouting their names, calling out, I'm here, I'm here. And Kennedy links that directly to honest writing, speaking from who we are, mortal human being to mortal human being. It's an affirmation, a defiant act of love, really. It says, I'm here and I see you.
So that feels like a good place to pause and reflect. For you listening, think about this. We live in a world just buzzing with noise, where language gets twisted so easily. How to use your words, spoken, written, even just the stories you tell yourself. Could choosing to craft your own narratives, maybe with more intention, more empathy, more of that love Kennedy talks about, could that save your own internal music? Could it add something important to the bigger human story? This deep dive with A.L. Kennedy is a reminder, isn't it? We are all here. What will you make or say or imagine to affirm that?